Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. Thank you for joining me for our devotional. We are in Acts chapter 14. I'm going to be reading verses 8 through 14. Here's how it reads. Now at Lystra, there was a man sitting who could not use his feet. He was crippled from birth and had never walked. He listened to Paul speaking. And Paul, looking intently at him, seeing that he had faith to be made well, said in a loud voice, "Stand upright on your feet." And he sprang up and began walking. And when the crowd saw what Paul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in Lycaonian, "The gods have come down to us in the likeness of men." Barnabas they called Zeus, and Paul Hermes, because he was the chief speaker. And the priest of Zeus, whose temple was at the entrance to the city, brought oxen and garlands to the gates and wanted to offer sacrifice with the crowds. But when the apostles, Barnabas and Paul, heard of it, they tore their garments and rushed out to the crowd, crying out. So now Paul has traveled about 18 miles south yet again to the town of Lystra. Now, Lystra is a place that Paul's going to visit at least 3 times in the book of Acts, and this time it appears he gets more of a positive welcome than the previous 2 experiences. He even gets some godlike treatment. And to the people's surprise, Barnabas and Paul were not happy about this. Now, there are a couple of lessons that we could quickly take away from this instance. Here's the first one. You'll notice that Barnabas and Paul do not go straight to the synagogue. Now, this is because there wasn't a synagogue in Lystra. However, there was a Greek temple, we discover. Therefore, because of the people's ongoing exposure to Greek mythology and worship, it was easy for them to perceive this lame man's healing as a work of Greek gods. And herein lies lesson number 1. Sometimes our biases prevent us from seeing the truth. This is exactly why we teach our kids that bad company corrupts good morals. We understand that constant exposure to corrupt messages and behavior will eventually affect the beliefs of a person. And so Barnabas and Paul must correct this corrupt bias and clarify who actually worked the miracle. And second, you're going to notice that Barnabas and Paul race to correct the issue, not only because they interpret them to be Greek gods, but they actually misunderstand that they healed this man. But it wasn't them that healed this man at all. It was God. And herein lies lesson 2. Sometimes God will do things through us, and I believe it's important to deflect the glory that might be projected onto us when this happens. You see, this is a temptation for all men. It's especially enticing when something finally goes right, and thus it was right for Barnabas and Paul to correct this quickly. So the 2 lessons for us today are this. It's God's truth that corrects all man's biases. And second, it's God's glory, and it's never stolen by man, ever. Well, thanks for joining me for today's devotional. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, give it a share, hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment below so I know you're alive. And with that, I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.